I am the perfectly imperfect parent coach, and I coach individuals and families to unpack their mindfulness as well as learning how to parent themselves. I am also a social worker, and I have been on a journey of parenting 12 children, 6 boys and 6 girls. I have 3 biological children, 9 nieces and nephews that I have had granted custody and guardianship, kinship care, and I've adopted through the New York City foster care system. I started my journey when my nephew, now son, asked me why was he in foster care and why was I adopting him. And I thought that was a little odd because he was 10 years old at the time. And I thought that the social worker would have told him why he was in care and what was going on with him. I felt as though she at least told him that. So I decided to tell him his truth as far as much as I could tell him as far as what I knew as far as his case was concerned. But it was very difficult to talk to him because I'm a social worker and to be able to speak to him so he can understand his journey. I did explain it to him and I asked him afterwards, was he okay? And he said he was, but I had a feeling that he wasn't. And then I looked at his little sister. She was 3 years old at the time. And I said, someday she may ask the same question. How will I put it into words for her to understand? So what I did was I came up with the book. She named me Stacy. It's a series of children's books on foster care and adoption. This one tells you about Stacy's journey through foster care at birth. And then we have this second one here, which is a temporary home for Stacy, which Stacy was in foster care. And it tells you a little bit about the journey of foster care. Then we have this third book, which is Stacy F. My Forever Mommy, and it tells you about the journey of being adopted. We also have some children that it's very hard to engage once they come into your home. And also, as a social worker, once the child is removed, it's very hard to engage them as well. So what I did was I came up with this coloring book. It's a coloring activity book that you can use as a social worker or either as the foster parent when the child first comes into your home, because it'll get the child to talk and you can start to get things from them like what they want to eat, because some of them refuse to eat, their name, things that they like. So we came up with that book for that. I thought it would be interesting to do that because you have foster parents as well who want to be foster parents, but they don't quite understand the journey. So what I did was made it easy enough for a foster parent to be able to understand it, as well as be able to talk to a child about their journey, because this book was written generically for any child that comes into foster care, because they come in for different reasons. And the children that I have that came into care, even though 5 of them were siblings, but they all came in at different times. They came to me at different times, and their reasons of being in care were for different reasons. So to use this book, it works for each and every one of them, because at the time that they came in, some came in as infants, so I was able to use She Named Me Stacy. Some of them came in already waiting to be adopted, so I was able to use My Forever Mommy for that book. My journey through working in foster care and adoption has been something that has fulfilled my life in a way that I would have never have thought. So I wanted to understand the journey a little bit more. So what I did was a trash bag challenge, and I put all my personal belongings inside of a trash bag and walked the street for an entire month as if I was, well, of course I couldn't have been a foster child or anything like that because I'm an adult, but it was more of a homeless thing, to understand what their journey was like. And believe me, the difference was I was able to come back home. I was able to unpack that bag and add more things to it. But that's not what these children do. They take their worldly possessions and it's in that bag, and they work through the streets and go from place to place. They go to school, they get on the bus, they get on the train. And that's what I did. I took that bag with me to work. I got on the bus, I got on the train, I went into official buildings, and the experience was unbelievable. It is truly unbelievable the way people treat you, the way people look at you. I just, my heart just continues to go out to them. I also have another book, which is this book here. It's called 1380 Prospect Avenue, Not Another Bronx uh, Tale. And it's definitely not another Bronx tale. I'm going to read you the excerpt on the back of these brothers who came into care. It's after the murder of their parents and younger sister, Silk Sat and Swade Lee are first taken in by their cruel aunt and uncle. Then they're shipped off to Concourse Village, a state-owned facility for boys. They were thrust into survival mode. The boys must decide a path for their lives with only the morals instilled by their deceased parents and the street knowledge they are quickly gaining. Their bond was constantly tested as they transitioned from boys to men. These Lee brothers made friends and enemies with the boys of Concourse Village and the girls of Morrisania Manor, as they all tried desperately to find steady footing in their new way of life. Separately, they have experienced unspeakable tragedies, but together they learn what it means to be a family. 1380 Prospect Avenue is not another Bronx tale, but a remarkable tale of lifelong connections forged by the tough love of the streets. And this is what goes on in this book. This book here, 1380 Prospect Avenue, is the first in a trilogy that we're doing. It gives you a little bit more insight as far as how the system works with these children. Each one of the children in this book, which we call youth in this book, came into care for different reasons, and they're maneuvering through the system in a different way. With the three brothers, these are identical triplets. They're trying to find who murdered their family, and they're trying to find their steady way of working through the system. Of course, this is not an actual true story, but the events that happen in here actually happen to some children who are in care. Now, I took this book, and I took the name of the book is a place, is an actual place, 1380 Prospect Avenue, is the name of the house that the street address that my older siblings and cousins lived in. And they, as growing up, they would tell me so many different stories about when they were growing up in the 50s and the 60s in the Bronx. And that was at a time where you can leave your front door open and run to the store and know that everything in your house is still there. So I took some of that and what I know now as a social worker and the way we're living now and put it into this book and made it my own. I enjoyed the stories that they have told me. I wish that I was a part of that growing up to be able to know that life was totally different. Even when I grew up in the 60s, it was different than they were because I was a younger child than they were. They were teenagers and young adults. And the stories that they had told me about the things that they were doing and the places that they went, those places are still there, but it's different. So I took these characters and put it inside that era in the 70s and 80s and the 60s as well. And if any of you have grown up in that era, you would know what it was like. So I put that into this book, and you'll hear some of the same places, names like that have changed. You'll hear about Fordham Road, if anybody's familiar with it, it becomes something different. The Grand Concourse, which is a major throughway in the Bronx, that becomes the name of a group home. So I made things different in there, but I kept it the same kind of taste. And that's what I wanted to give the readers. I wanted to give them a little bit more insight into foster care and adoption and what the lives are like for children who are entering the system. I have been working in this state for 10 years in the foster care and adoption system. And the things that some of the children go through and the way that the workers work to be able to make sure that they are independent once they leave and hopefully that they don't leave being homeless is remarkable with the work that we do and the challenges that these children face. So my whole package, my whole thing is the family, and that's family first. There was a time that workers would go into homes and they would go into your refrigerators and look into your closets and see if you had a man in there and whatnot. We don't do that anymore because one would get thrown down the steps, because that's what happened in the movie like Claudine. She went into the house and she was able to look at everything. I don't want to get too far off of that, but that's what I'm about. And that's what my writing is about. I talk about foster care and adoption. I talk about the need of these children being in loving homes. I have been doing this for over 40 years. My youngest will be 9 in a few days, and my oldest will be 44. And I've enjoyed this journey. I am so blessed and so grateful and thankful that God chose me to take this journey and to be able to do his work. I'm going to continue to do this work until he taps me on the shoulder and tell me that it's time to move on. But I don't think that he wants me to go any place just yet, because there's more things to come with Black Diamond, and I'm just going to continue to move forward. I thank you all so very much for listening to me. And I thank you, McConan, for allowing me to sit on this platform. And I'm going to be available for any questions or anything that I can do. I also have other books out. I have a memoir. I've been co-authoring other books, and I have something coming special in January. So if you go to my website or either on my Facebook page, you'll be able to keep up with me. Again, thank you so much.